Okay, it's now live. For anyone watching, just post a comment and let me know if the sound quality is good. My voice quality is not good because I'm fucking sick right now. Okay, it's now live. Okay, everything should be fine. Might as well just mute it there. Alright, so I have these questions on Patreon. I guess I'll go over them first. Hmm. Looks like there's no one watching for some reason. Yeah, looks like no one's watching this live stream. I'm kind of worried now. Okay, there's 3 people watching, it says. Just want to make sure everything's set up correctly. Okay, there's 2 people watching. So I post this correctly. Yeah, that's the correct tiers. Okay, strange. Save that. Alright, I guess there's just not a lot of people watching at the moment, but there's plenty of questions on Patreon here, so I guess you guys can watch a recording. So I guess I'll start off with the question Jesus asked. I don't have a coach, so I have to coach myself. What is the best way to go about doing it? Yeah, it's possible to coach yourself weightlifting. Also, I don't even know if you're talking about like weightlifting or powerlifting here. Like powerlifting, it's very easy to coach yourself because the movements are very basic. But if it's weightlifting, yeah, it is possible. The best way to go about it is just learning a lot of stuff online. There's loads of resources. Like YouTube channels like Cal Athletics, Zach Talander. Some of my videos are informative, I guess. Check out the tutorials like I did with Omar on his channel. There's also like a lot of weightlifting books. Greg Everett's book is pretty good. Yeah, just start weightlifting. Go to the gym and practice the movements with an empty barbell or PVC pipe, and just get going. One thing that you should keep in mind is that weightlifting is a skill, so it needs to be like practiced very often. So try to go to like the gym maybe every day if you have the time for it. Like especially at the beginning, you're not going to be lifting any heavy weights, so it's not going to be like straining to the central nervous system. So you can train every day, no problem. Practice movements every day. But if you have money, I'd recommend getting a coach if you can find one where you live, and if not, then try to get like an online coach because it just makes the process a lot easier. Okay, there's no comments on YouTube. For anyone watching at the moment, just let me know if the sound quality is good because I have no idea. On OBS is saying it's fine, but I don't know for sure. Next question on Patreon is, hi Clarence, what's your opinion about weightlifting shoes for training squat high bar? As the grass, is the difference that big? Yeah, if you're doing like high bar squats, you definitely need weightlifting shoes, for sure. It's like as important as like I don't know, track athlete using spikes for like 100 meters. It's that important. So yeah, I definitely recommend weightlifting shoes, and it's not just because of the elevated heel. It's going to give you like more stability, and it's safer for sure. Weightlifting shoes I recommend. The cheapest pair you can get, and they work great. Adidas Powerlift. I don't know if they're releasing the fours now or is it the threes, but you can find them on like Amazon for a cheap price. And Nike Romaleos too if you have a lot of money, or the trees are good as well. Other question some insight about collab with Toshihiki. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen because I don't know. The Japanese are quite strict. It's hard to get into their training center. It's just the culture over there, and of course they don't speak English. So, like me and Owen tried to get in contact with them through this guy living in Japan, and it just seems like a difficult collab to set up. So we're not going to bother with it, unfortunately. B asked, have you ever experienced hip flexor strain soreness? Seem to get it constantly from squats for some reason. Me personally, no, I never got that pain. I did get that pain like tricking actually. Um, Never got it from squatting. I don't really have any good advice on how to like alleviate that pain, but one thing you should do is just like look at your programming, see like like your volume, how much you're squatting, and perhaps like for a short while take a deload, reduce the volume intensity, and wait till that injury heals, and then slowly increase the volume intensity again. That's basically how you overcome every injury. Okay, no comments on YouTube. For those people watching, feel free to post a comment on YouTube and I'll answer it. Michael asked on Patreon, how did you fix your knee pain? You no longer use the bandage around the patella. Just curiosity? Curious, I think he meant. Being you're hitting PRs like crazy without aggravating it. He has surgery. Yeah, that was a long time ago. If you search on Google Clarence Kennedy All Things Gym interview, you'll be able to read all about that. I went into a lot of detail about like my knee injury back then. I did get like knee pain after I got surgery, like in 2016, and the way I overcame that was I just like adjusted my squat technique. I used like more of my back and hamstring posterior chain, and then over time, it just healed, and I of course dropped like the volume intensity of my training for a while, and I seem to have, well, I still have knee pain, but it's not as bad as it was like in 2012 or 2016. Um, Robert asked, what frequency should I use in tricking as a beginner and combining it with a power building program? Okay, it seems like you're trying to do everything at once. I wouldn't recommend that because like power building is like basically powerlifting and bodybuilding kind of combined. I think Omar Yusuf came up with that term. I'd recommend just focusing on one thing at a time. So if you want to get better at tricking, then just focus on tricking for a certain period of time, maybe like 3 months during the summer. That's probably like the best time of the year to tricking because like, the weather's good. Maybe trick 3 times a week then, and just do like powerlifting or bodybuilding once or twice per week. And then in the winter time, you can focus more on strength. So switch it around. Train powerlifting or bodybuilding 3 times a week and trick once per week. So that's what I recommend. Have like blocks of training where you focus on different sports. What's your mobility conditioning routine for tricking? Well, I don't really trick that seriously anymore. Like actually being in Norwich, I've been tricking every week, but that's definitely an exception. But on average, I trick like maybe once every 3 months. So I don't really have like a conditioning routine or anything for tricking. But like in the past, yeah, flexibility is important for tricking. So I did like stretch a lot, like before and after training. Mainly just like actually doing like the tricks themselves, like basic kicks like hook kick, kretzer kick, everything like that. I did do like quite a bit of static stretching because I did suck in the past, believe it or not. Um, what's your conditioning routine? Back then, yeah, that would have been just like lifting. Like power lifting is probably the best thing you can do for conditioning. Of course, you can do like loads of calisthenic exercises, but lifting weights is probably the best thing to do. Um, What's your opinion on taking a week completely off from any form of exercise as a deal of the week and working your way back for improving performance? Um, Sometimes that can be a benefit, but it's mostly just a benefit mentally. I wouldn't recommend doing that though, because if you take a week off completely, you're going to lose a lot of gains. It'd be much more effective if you just trained once or twice in that week for literally like 30 to 40 minutes. You maintain like a longer gains, just like two very easy sessions. So that's what I'd recommend um, instead of just taking the week completely off. Of course, like sometimes it is beneficial just to take like a week or two off completely. Like if you're on holidays, for example, just to give yourself like a mental break from training. Haven't done that in a while. Maybe I should do it sometime. Okay, someone finally posted a question on YouTube. Eric, he asked fixes for anterior pelvic tilt. So that's in the squat. That's where your hips go forward, if I'm correct. Begin the squat like with a slow eccentric. I'd recommend like tempo squats to really fix that issue. And like yeah, I assume you're talking about the squat anyway. I don't know if you're talking about like front squat. But you can begin the squat by like at the top of the squat, you can bend your knees slightly just to feel like your quads working. So that's what I'd recommend. And of course, think about like your torso angle. So try to lean forward slightly in both like the front squat and the back squat. Michael asked on Patreon, I need to reiterate more recently, like 2018 to now. I'm aware of the patellar debridement he had, but he still had aggravation post-op regardless. But thanks for the input. I think you meant to reply to this comment. Yeah, but I did explain that. Yeah, in 2016 I did get knee pain again, and I overcame that by just looking at my training program, reducing volume intensity for a while, and changing my squat form. If you look at videos from 2016, you can see I use my back and hamstrings a lot. And the back squat's basically like a lower squat. John asked on Patreon, hello Clarence, what would you consider milestone snatch cleaner for a 73 kilo lifter with 3+ years of training? I used to snatch 98 kilos and cleans 118 kilos at 72 kilo body weight. Kind of a subjective question, and just looking to hear your honest opinion. You didn't mention your age there. That would matter a lot. If you were like 40 years old, then I would say not much more than what you're lifting now. But if you're like an 18-year-old, you can make a lot more progress. So it depends on your age. And you're right by saying it's kind of a subjective question. Yeah, like age is a big factor, and I'd even need to like know your height as well. Like for example, if you're like 6 foot, you can gain a lot more weight, body weight. What is your caloric intake at 97 to 100 kilos? I don't track or anything, but it's not as much as I used to eat for sure. I kind of just know that just by estimating, I guess. Lewis asked, what's your take on Chinese style weightlifting? Trying different techniques, and it seems to suit me and progressing in weight easier. So yeah, the biggest difference in technique from like Chinese lifters compared to like Russian, like European style lifters is they don't like stomp their feet and like to snatch and clean. Both like are effective. Like the Chinese like slide their feet up. It's harder to do the Chinese style technique. It's a lot simpler. Just think about stomping your feet. That's to like increase the speed under, but it's difficult to master the Chinese style where you just slide your feet. So both work. I wouldn't recommend one over the other or anything. Just see what suits you. Don't spend too long experimenting, I guess. Oh, Zach actually made a good video about that. You can try to find it on his channel. I forget the name of the video. Hi Clarence, recently I bought my first bear for whale thing and I've never lifted one before and it's really heavy. If I find difficult moving 20 kilos, what exercise would you recommend for a complete beginner? Okay, so yeah, you're getting into weightlifting. Yeah, if you find it difficult to lift the bear, just get like a PVC pipe and like learn the movements, like strength. Your strength levels don't really matter at the very beginning because you still have to like learn the movements anyway, and that'll take a while. So yeah, get like a PVC pipe or even buy like a technique bear and get like small bumper weights and yeah, just progressively overload. There's like loads of stories of people like great like weightlifters and powerlifters, starting out like quite weak but making a lot of gains. So all you have to do is just start with a lighter weight and just progressively overload. Curtis asked, hey Clarence, what's your best snatch without straps? Not much actually. I haven't really maxed out snatch without straps. Like I did 170 the last day, but I should try to get at least 180 with that. The reason I don't snatch without straps is because I can snatch more with straps and because I'm not competing, but I still should try to at least get over 180 in the snatch without straps. Any comments on YouTube? Have you ever had elbow pain after bench pressing? Is this from forearm weakness, maybe? No, I doubt it's from forearm weakness. One exercise that can like alleviate like elbow pain, like when bench pressing, like a good accessory to do is like hammer curls. I recommend doing that because you're working the antagonistic muscle group to the triceps. So that will help. Give that a try. And of course, stop benching as much. Maybe your volume's too high in your training. Maybe your intensity's too high. Again, just have to look at your program and make adjustments. Because most injuries occur, or like most overuse injuries occur because of overtraining. Hi there. Okay, now you're gonna say that. What did you think about the Netflix documentary, The Game Changers, scientifically? Overall, I think it was like a good documentary. Like the problem with these like vegan documentaries is they try to, I don't know, make very very like big claims, and yeah, they do back it up with evidence. But like, I guess the general population is like very skeptical of like veganism, so they're gonna question everything. So all they have to all they had to do really in that documentary was just prove that like a vegan diet is equivalent to a meat-based diet. They didn't have to like say facts like oh it's superior for performance, which there's no real evidence for. Um, they said in the movie that like vegan diet is superior for like cardiovascular health, which is true. I do agree with that. There's a lot of research backing that up, but in my opinion, they shouldn't have said that because it turns people away from veganism, as stupid as it sounds. And yeah, there was very like unscientific parts in that documentary, like the small tests they're doing. Of course, like those tests were like backed up with real like research, but I don't know. I still didn't enjoy those parts of the movie, like the part where they tested out like erectile dysfunction or whatever, and where they tested the blood and spun around a centrifuge. Like that wasn't very scientific. That was only like what 3 test subjects. Any comments on YouTube? No. Hey Clarence, what would be the one thing you wish you knew when you started weightlifting? That's full of crap. crap. Like anti-doping is flawed, all the corruption. I wish I knew that before I started weightlifting because I didn't know. I spent like many years of my life like focusing on weightlifting only to discover that it's full of crap internationally, with like competitions. So yeah. Hey Clarence, can't attend your live stream. No worries because it's recorded, so you can watch the recording later. Because I will already be drunk. Okay, maybe that's why there's not a lot of people watching. Maybe there's like loads of like Halloween parties going on or some crap. So I will leave the question here. Do you drink alcohol? If so, how often and how much? No, I don't drink alcohol. Well, I guess the only reason I use alcohol is for sleep. Um, I don't do like I don't drink alcohol like with my friends or for like social activities. I guess I literally just use it for like sleep. Combined with melatonin, it works really well. So I occasionally like drink wine. Um, hey, I purchased online coaching from you before. Oh, cool. But I have shifted. I actually don't remember your name. Sorry. Well, I've shifted my focus towards building muscle now. Could I purchase a program specific to muscle building from you, or would you recommend buying one from someone else? I'd recommend buying one from someone else. I'm not really I don't know, coach or bodybuilding, I guess. So yeah, try to find someone else. I can't think of anyone you could go to that would be good for bodybuilding. If I think of someone, I'll say it. Anthony Washerman asked, "Hi Clarence, in your opinion, what is the best bar you have or have used? How much does preferred bar improve your lifts?" To me, like it doesn't matter at all. Like I lifted with many bars like Alico, Worksen, Soccer Bar, the Weightlifting House Barbell, Pendlay Bar, yeah, loads of bars. Even just like random like CrossFit ones like D8 Fitness, Black Box, and the one I use like in Norwich now is just a cheap bar that is like worth like 150 pounds or something, and I don't care that much. Like today I cleaned 220 kilos, so like these days there's like a lot of cheap bars available because of CrossFit. So unless you're like a very competitive weightlifter in the Olympics, trying to win an Olympic medal, you should probably care about like what bar you're using, especially like if you know what bar is being used in international competitions. Sometimes it's Worksen, and most of the time it's like Alico. Yeah, it only matters then. Like I don't really care what bar you use. The best bar I've used probably I don't know. I guess the Lego bar is good. No complaints about that bar. Um, Although one thing about like some CrossFit bars is the rotation. Just make sure the rotation is good. Some of them don't rotate that much. What is lower back pain in high bar squat caused by butt wink or something? Yeah, many people think butt wink can cause injury, but it can't. Or sorry, many people think butt wink causes injury in like a high bar squat, but it doesn't really. It's not an injury risk. It's gonna reduce like the power you can develop out of the hold though. So that's like one reason to try to get rid of it in the squat. But lower back pain, yeah, can be caused by like those things like poor form, too much volume, too much intensity, too quick in your programming. Nicholas asked, would you consider dabbling into martial arts, just like 15 to 20 minutes training a day, and if it's only to try out your tricking kicks on the heavy bag bob? I really don't have any interest in martial arts. I don't have any interest in fighting people. The only like interest I have is like the cool looking kicks in Taekwondo, I guess. So if I found like a good Taekwondo instructor to show me like the basic kicks, I'd probably learn a bit, just for the purpose of tricking, but not like for like fighting people or anything. I just have no interest. Is it true that you know Damien Side? Yeah, I do know him. Yeah. How did you meet? Um, I talked to him on this like old tricking forum called Tricks Tutorials way back in the day, and we actually met up. If you like look back my old videos, you'll see that I made a video with him. I hear his podcast. Oh, so he mentioned me in his podcast. I didn't know he even had a podcast. I like his knowledge. Yeah, I think he was like studying sports science or something when I visited him last. That was way back in like 2014 or something. When are you going on holiday in Salzburg? Assume that's somewhere in Germany. I have no idea. I don't even know where that is. But maybe I'll go back to Germany soon. I was there twice last month. Jacob asked on YouTube, would you always recommend the split jerk over squat jerk? Yeah, 100% of the time. Well, I guess 99% of the time. I don't know. I see like a lot of lifters thinking that the squat jerk suits them, but it doesn't. Like the split jerk is superior, like the majority of the time. So I would teach like everyone the split jerk. I think it's superior. Like if you watch like Lu Xiaojun and Dan Tao, yeah, they can clean jerk a lot of weight, but only if they get lucky. They're very inconsistent. There's a lot more room for error in the split jerk over the power jerk. The power jerk needs to be like, or sorry, with the power jerk and squat jerk, it needs to be executed perfectly, or else you're gonna miss. Whereas with the split jerk, if you mess it up, you can still save it because there's such like a wide base. Declan asked on Patreon, I'm taking a little break from weightlifting, so I'm currently halfway through your powerlifting program. The program is, of course, 4 days a week, so is it wise for me to throw a weightlifting session in there for fun or not? If it's a light training session, yeah, you can. You can kind of spread it out over the program, so you don't have to have like 1 day dedicated to weightlifting. Maybe like at the end of a training session or like before a training session, you can do like I don't know, light power clean and jerk, I guess. Light power snatch. Just try not to like I guess like improve on your weightlifting. Just try to maintain it as best as you can. Just maintain the technique by doing like a very light snatch clean jerk. So that's what I'd recommend. What technical improvements would you say you've made in your lifts in the recent years, and what issues are you focusing on fixing currently? That was a good question. Recent years, the snatch was definitely a lot better. I used to have like a big issue with the first one. I still kind of do, but like I'm using my legs a lot better in the snatch compared to like a couple of years back. Cleans have always been good, I guess. Haven't made any like improvements or anything on the clean. The jerk has improved. Like especially like the dip and drive. Like my dip and drive is a lot better now. It's not the best, but it's a lot better now than it was like a couple of years back. If you watch my videos around the time I was like trying to clean and jerk like 205, 210. My like dip and drive was like terrible. I do think my jerk technique is like really good at the moment. At the lower weights, like below 180 kilos, it's just when it gets above 180, that's where the problems start to arise. Okay, so yeah, that's all the questions. So any of you watching, if you want to ask any questions on YouTube, feel free. I'll keep doing this for another 2 minutes, I guess. This is a short live stream tonight, only 28 minutes. But I assume everyone's out like drinking or partying or something. I didn't miss any questions here, did I? Sometimes people like post questions after the scheduled time. Or like they post it here sometimes, which is funny. So let's check this. Yeah, look, people asking questions here. By the way, even with my laptop sound on max, only the volume of your voice is okay. That's a little late. This is up to the max. I don't know how to increase the sensitivity here, but I'll keep that in mind for next time. Probably everybody tired and sleeping because of Halloween After Effects. Yeah, probably a bad idea to do a live stream this time. But there was a fair amount of Patreon questions, so I got all those answered. No new ones here now. Okay, so there's two questions here on YouTube. How many days would you recommend to take from a heavy deadlift session to a clean power clean? Depends on what weight it was. For example, if you're like, I don't know, Larry Wheels, like deadlifting over 400 kilos, you need like probably like a week and a half to recover from that. But if you're like a beginner deadlifting a maximum of like 150 kilos, you can probably recover from that in like a day or two. So yeah, just let me know like what weight it is, like your body weight, etc. How long you've been training. It really matters, I guess. But yeah, typically heavy deadlifts are very fatiguing, so you will need a break before you start like lifting heavy again. But I'd recommend like just having light sessions instead of taking days completely off. Have you spoken to Zygmantus Dandulis recently? I saw he follows you on Insta. No, I never talked to him actually. Talked to him briefly in person during the Europeans in 2012. I made a video of him actually. It's on my channel. Yeah, he was like a really good lifter back then. I don't think he has improved that much though. Alright, I think I'll end it here. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed live stream.